Welcome, everybody. Good morning. It's a real pleasure to be here facilitating this panel with such outstanding and influential women. Each of the women I will present has been able to change the realities of people they live with. And they've done this in many different ways. I will commend their experience and so that you can have an idea on how they have been able to do this, and then we will go for the questions and the dialogue. It has been difficult to choose which are the main things to say about them because they have a very rich and long experience. For Bhanumati Narasimha, I can say she's the director of the Art of Living's Women and Child Welfare Program. Bhanumati's commitment to social causes was inspired by her brother, His Holiness Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. Through her initiative, she strives to spread the message of harmony, human values, violence-free, free-stress society. From the education point of view, she has been running for so many years schools, now up to 600 schools with more than 67,000 children with free education.
Wow.
Irene Natividad is president of Globe Women Research Education, and she has convened women leaders for almost 3 decades at the Global Summit of Women on best practices in advancing women's economic progress. She also conducts pioneering research on women boards directors globally through Corporate Women Directors International. Chetna Sinha served in 2018 as co-chair of the World Economic Forum in Davos. She founded the first business school for rural women and also set up the Mandeshi Mahila Shakari Bank, India's first bank for and by rural women. So as you can see, yeah, please. So as you can already imagine by reading or listening to their curriculums, the transformation each of them has done has been through different approaches. So I could say that Bhanumati has done this change through the spiritual and the education approach. Irene has worked on affirmative action and research, while Chetna has transformed women also by financial inclusion. So many of the topics we talked about yesterday. So this is huge, and I'm sure we are all asking ourselves how they've been able to do this. Who have they worked with, and what can they teach us? So in this sense, we can start with the questions we've thought about, like the why. So understanding why they've done this and in which ways. So for Bhanu, I would like to start with Bhanumati for one question. In your opinion, what are the key factors in building sustainable change? And what role does spirituality play in empowerment and transformation?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to greet you all from India. I bring greetings. It's so beautiful to be in this August gathering, and who all are working for the cause of women. You know, I really appreciate, and I'm very happy to be amidst you all. And to me, you know, what are the factors that can influence in changing, you know, the real building a change is, we can say mindset, you know, how mindsets, and then about, we can say education helps, and there is how to bridge the communication gap. Excuse me. So if you come to mindset, I would say when the spirituality can really give you the solution for all these 3 factors, you know. There is a solution lying in spirituality because, you know, for mindset transformation, you need an open-mindedness, you know, and insightfulness. A calm mind, a pleasant mind, excuse me, can definitely think better, find more solutions, for this mindset transformation, I would say meditation, spiritual practices is a main solution. And I have seen world over people who meditate, they have really gained that inner strength comes to you through spirituality, through meditation. And you get this self-confidence, self-esteem grows in us. And when we are confident, we can definitely, we have the resilience to face any issues with a calm mind. Then the solution definitely comes. This has been my experience, you know. Whenever we have seen, wherever there is problem issues, it is better to respond rather than react. This type of mindset comes when you meditate. And secondly, for me, we need to bridge this rural and urban gap, you know. There's a lot of gap between the rural women and the urban. In fact, in the rural areas that I work, education has been my, forte, where it is so much needed, especially in my country. There are many girls who need this education. They don't have the facility, in fact, both boys and girls. But for me, education is not just mere information, stuffing information into a child's mind with concepts, information, but it is something much more, you know, creating a space where a child can have that, positivity in a child, and also get this, if you see, we have so many negativity, and when we grow up, we are faced with so many negative emotions, which we are not able to handle it, neither at school nor at home. We are taught this, but a spiritual education, you know, holistic education with value-based education, human values, you know, these things can help a child to have a better insight into, one's own self, and also find better, progress in life, society. Because I feel that individual transformation can be so much, that is what will help a social transformation too, because every individual is what is, make a society. So this way, proper education, value-based education will be very beneficial for building the change, And that, in that sense, I'm very fortunate to work with children, especially with girls. We have in this half the number of our, they are girls, in our schools. We have girl children. It's a challenge for us, but definitely we are, through spirituality, I would say through this inner strength, we are able to tackle these issues.
Thank you. Thank you, Bhanumati. So, Chetna, let's continue by the why questions. Why did you start the Mandeshki Bank, and how do you think it's different from other microfinance initiatives? What do you think are the most important contributions this has done to the sector and for women?
So, namaste. I'm very proud to be at W20, and I'm very proud that, all of us are creating a global agenda for women. And so I'm really excited. And when I talk here, actually I represent the voices of rural women of India, and not only India, all women who are around the world working very hard. So it's a representation from them, and I like to speak for them. I am born and raised in Mumbai, and I started working in the organization which was started by Mahatma Gandhi. Of course, no more Gandhi in the organization, but I started working with the organization at Mahatma Gandhi. My husband, Vijay, who also is part of the organization, he's a farmer. So I was young, studying in college, studying economics, fallen in love with him. I left Mumbai and went to the small village where he stayed. And I was staying there and working for women. One woman came to me. Her name is Kantabai. You know what she said? She said, I want to do savings. I said, Kantabai was working on the street. She has no house to stay. She was all day working on the street and staying with her family. Do you have money to save? That was my question. And she said, no, I want to do savings and I want to buy a tarpaulin sheet to give a shelter to my family. So I said, if you want to do savings, go to the banks. And I went with her to the different banks. Bank said, Kantabai wants to save less than a 5 cents a day. She is not an affordable client to us. So I felt, if Kantabai is not asking for government subsidy, she's not asking for any loan. She wants to save her hard-earned money at a safe and secure place. If banks are not opening the account, why not start a bank for the women like Kantabai? And my journey started. We applied but journey was not that easy. We applied for the banking license. Most of our women were non-literate. Central Bank of India rejected the license, saying that we cannot issue the license to the bank whose members are not educated. I was devastated. When I went back to the village, I was crying. But our women were not crying. They said, why are you crying? We will learn to read and write and apply again. Yeah, and we applied again. But at that time, after 5 months, we started a literacy classes. Our women started to learn to read and write. We applied again. I didn't go alone. 15 women came with me to Central Bank of India. And you know what they said? They said, you rejected the license because we cannot read and write. But they said, we can not read and write, but we can count. And they said to the officers, tell us to calculate the interest of any principal amount. If we fail, don't issue the license. But tell your officers to do it without calculator and see who can calculate faster. And needless to say, we got the license. It was first Rural Women's Bank, which was started by women capital, women saving, no outside support. I'm proud to share at W20 that these women have made the capital of $35 million with no investors. And today, I'm working with nearly 500,000 women with this first Rural Women Bank. We have first bank, first business school, and first fund. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Irene, can you share with us why, for the almost 3 decades, you have convened women at the Global Summit of Women only on economic issues, which has been the reasons for doing this?
I want women to have money. I want exactly what she has done, but to replicate it globally. When women have money, they have power. When women bring home money to their homes, the balance of power changes in the family. True. There was an article in the New York Times that had a heading. It says, money is power and women have little of both. And that was recently, and I looked at that and I go, so what else is new? So what I've been trying to do is to find out what are the ways, as President Macri said, not just to avanzar, to advance women. I want adelantar, to speed it up. Because I am now 70 years old. I have been doing this for 35 years. How much longer do we have to wait? I want us to understand that if the women got paid as much as they're worth, if they were fully engaged in every part of the economy, then imagine our impact. That's the reason why IMF and the World Bank and the UN and Goldman Sachs and McKinsey all put out projections of the gift of prosperity that women will give, not just to rural villages, but to entire countries and to entire companies. This is called the business case, okay? And there are also plenty of studies, about 70 studies and reports that show that if you put women in charge, if you put them in leadership roles in companies, the financial performance of a company goes up. This is a business case that many of you probably know. So the W20 is not an adjunct. It's not a side event. It is the event because those G20 leaders who will meet later, they cannot spell prosperity without us, without you. Exactly. So what this requires is a paradigm shift in the way we talk about us. I am tired of talking about us as needy and wanting and lesser than, who have to be improved. I want us to talk about the economic power we already have. We are half of the world's workers. We are 30% of small business owners and growing. And companies, countries will prosper based on what we buy because we're the majority of consumers. So therefore, let us think about how we articulate that power and say it over and over again. So maybe it will, by repetition, it will sink into the heads of the leaders who are going to meet a few months from now. Remember, nobody ever gave away power. We have got to grab it for ourselves.
Yes.
Amen.
Bhanumati, going back to you, and we have little time today because of the beginning of the session. Could you share with us about the beginning of your journey and specifically which are the lessons we can learn from your 40-year experience educating and empowering women?
Yeah, taking the cue from her, Irini, we have the power, you know. We have the power within us. That is what spirituality is, discovering that inner strength. And I tell you, when we began our journey 38 years back, it was a school of just 30 children, these construction workers' children. They were all, just playing in mud and cement. So my father started this school with 30 children. Literally, it was a small beginning. And now if you see, we have 618 schools in 20 states of India with 67,000 children, as you mentioned. And it's still growing. This itself gave me that, so much confidence and courage that if you do something good, if you think of plan something good, nature helps us. So many volunteers helped us. In fact, the rural Indian, that's why I also mentioned that we need to bridge the gap. There's a big gap between the rural and urban educated. And that is why I wanted to bring in this education. It's another angle of empowering women. If you educate a woman, you are educating the whole family. If you educate a boy, you are educating a man of the family. But an educated mother can definitely see to it that her children are also educated. In olden days, they used to save, even though they didn't have the access for bank. Even now, many villages don't have. I work with many villages, thousands of villages where you really don't get this access to banking. They have this, chit fund. They collect together. They have their own savings. Now I tell you, they are saving. Before they used to save the money for their marriage of the girl child. Now they're saving, the same women are saving the bank money for the education of their girl child. This is the progress. this wonderful, thank you. This wonderful mindset, this is what I call it, that open-mindedness and the far-sightedness, just if you give just money, monetary empowerment is not the only answer. There are many people who are very monetarily empowered, but still they have this, there is a sense of lack in them. There is unhappiness. Depression is growing in the world. If you see, we are educated also, and there is one side, there is aggression, one side, there is depression. So we need to have a balance of mind. For this, I feel we need more and more holistic education, and we need to bridge this gap, And we have so much to learn from rural women. I'm quite sure Chetna will agree with me. When we visit these areas, they have so much of human values. They have this hope, they have the faith, which we as urban women, we lack this, and we need to learn from each other. So when we go from this space of learning and contributing, that is what I call, spirituality is for me something that as mind shift, saying that what can I do to the world rather than what did the world do to me, This shift naturally happens when you have this ambition, you have this aim to bring in more people to spread happiness and make more people. In fact, for me, the education is my passion, because when I was very young, I used to go to school, and then we had a help in the house. She had 6 girls, 2 boys, and the 2 boys will go to school. The 6 girls were not, So she said, I cannot afford. So my brother used to ask my father, if Banu can go to school, why not these children, these girls, So because that lady would say, oh, they are anyway girls, they will one day get married and have children, This is the mindset it used to be when I was small. But now, hopefully, it has changed to a great extent, and that is why I'm really focused on girl-child education, Even though I love boys, I have 2 boys and 2 grandsons. But it is so important, I have seen, and as you rightly said, she's so intelligent, and then they contribute. And also, when you are happy and contented, and you are educated and your mind is in the right place, I would say, it's not depressed, and when a happy person can create 100 more people around them happy, so is the case with a sad person. A depressed person can create the waves of depression. 100 people will be affected. So we all are, governed by that. It's life, it's nothing but a wave function, So that is why it's necessary for us also to attend to this factor, that how to keep a serene, calm mind and still work for your own goal and achieve them. And of course, when we were working, there are many challenges. I wouldn't say all the time it is a success story. All the girls get educated. Not everybody get employment, when they go to in the rural areas. They do get educated. We have schools in the rural area, but there are no employment facility for them. If they're educated, they have to shift to the urban areas. So this is one of the challenges that we face. But still there is hope, and definitely all your goodwill wishes from all over the world also, it will definitely help them. I strongly believe in this goodwill. And this is what has happened to our schools, from 30 children to the exponential growth of 67,000 children who get free education, free and holistic education. So this is possible because of many volunteers and well-wishers. So I would say that education is a main reason for any positive social transformation, that it is a long-lasting if we need. That is my angle is from education, and I work for it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Chetna, and what about you? What are some of the most significant and personal lessons you can teach us today from your life experience?
So actually, I always before I always, when I started, I felt like, I'm educated, I'll be working in the villages and I need to teach them. It was totally upside down. As I mentioned that women said we want to do savings. With homegrown bank today we are no investors. So these women actually have taught me a lot. And I would like to, in brief, share my lessons. I'll share with you one story, a young girl. It's not only just women, but the young girls they are so much aspire. One young girl came to the bank and she said that in vacation, I want to work for 2 months. And I was that, you are not even 14 years old. What are you going to work in the bank? And she said, no, this is a school vacation. I will work for 2 months. And you don't give me salary. You give me bicycle, so that I can go to high school. Because from my home to high school, I have to walk 3 kilometers a day. And I want to reach to the school in time. So I'll work for 2 months and you buy a bicycle for me. And I felt, she has fantastic solution, right? What she wanted, a bicycle for her to go to school. So the first lesson I learned is, people know what they want. Listen to them. Listening is the lesson which I learned. Then second, I would say that I'm speaking here, but I would like to request all of you that when I'm here in Argentina, one of our girl, she is preparing herself. She's coming from shepherd community, rearing sheep and goat, but she's in our sports program. She had a bicycle to go to school, and now she's preparing herself. She's a goalkeeper in our national hockey team, and she's preparing herself for Olympics to go to Tokyo. So these are the young girls who have these aspirations. And the last lesson, I would like to say that when I was going to World Economic Forum, co-chairing in Davos, I asked our women that what should I speak there? And you know what they said? Because I said that all these investors will be there, what should I do there? And you know what our women said? That we have created the bank, very different bank. We are not talking about credit, savings, investment, capital of all women. Go to Davos and tell them that for you, the capital is money. For us, the capital is courage. My courage is my capital. And I strongly believe that if the government endorses this courage of our women and W20 endorses the courage of our rural women, then we will unlock the capital of private investors. They will have to come and invest in us. There is no way. They will have to come and invest in us because we have decided our path. So the 3 lessons I would say, listen to people. Never provide poor solutions to poor people. Poor people are smart. Listen to them. And our courage is our capital. So let the capitalists unlock the capital.
That's great.
And with our courage, the nations will prosper, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Edna. I was showing Irene the clock.
I
sorry
have 1 minute.
for that. I would like to know from the best practices you've gathered in these years in advancing women, what strategy has proven to be most effective?
Counting matters. In order to create change, you have to have goals, targets, quotas. There must be a deadline, a timeline. Better yet, have sanctions, have penalties if the deadlines aren't met. You know, all of us have already had in our constitutions laws that say women are equal to men. Well, that's just feel-good legislation. What I want to know now is, how are you going to make us equal? By when? How much? What are you going to spend for education? What are you going to spend for this, and this? So it matters having goals. A lot of companies have been doing that. So for instance, there's an Australian bank called Westpac. And they said, we want 50% of women in senior leadership roles. It took them 10 years, 2 CEOs, but they did it. And they did it by keeping a target, holding managers accountable, giving incentives, and they announced it this year at their 200th anniversary. Another Australian company, Billiton, said, we want 50% of our miners being women. And I go, why? Because they are better workers, they come on time, they work safely, and they don't drink or waste the money. So, you know, but companies have been setting targets. You know, countries haven't done much about pay equity, even though they say the law says women get paid as much as men do. But companies have actually, like the two yesterday, Philip Morris and Uber, and I will add to that Microsoft, you know, Intel, Sodexo, etc., are now doing internal audits of their pay to see if there's a gap. And when there is a gap, they allocate money to equalize the women, okay? So I think the most controversial method is that of quotas. There are now quotas in 24 countries for women on boards, ranging from 40%, a high of 40% in Norway and in France, to a low of at least one woman on a board in India. And you know what? It works. In countries where there are quotas, the average percentage of women on boards is 33%. In countries without quotas, it is only 17%. In the 3 largest economies in the world, US, Japan, China, not necessarily in that order, nothing in terms of a national strategy to put women into leadership roles into companies. Now, there are women as well as men. Companies hate the idea of quotas. And women themselves say, you know, I would like to be appointed to a board because I deserve it, because I'm terrific and I'm educated, etc. And so I tell them, get over it. It's a door. It's a door and you must push it open, you know? If a door is being given to us, why not take it? Quotas are force a demand because we know the supply of qualified women is already there. So, you know, in Argentina, where only 2% of board directors are women, consider the quota. I have become a quota lady, so talk to me.
Well, thank you so much for this time. We really enjoyed. Thank you all. And a big applause again for 3 of you.